There's a story that one day an individual had finished work and he was on his way home. It was Iraq, it was hot. The story goes back a few hundred years ago. This man had finished work and he was returning home. It was the middle of the summer. It was really hot. This man was tired from working all day. As he's leaving to go home, he's extremely hungry, he's extremely thirsty. So on his journey home, he passes a river stream and he notices that there is an apple that's flowing in the river. So he thinks to himself, look, I'm really tired, I'm really hungry. There's an apple here flowing across this river stream. Why don't I try and take this apple? So he leans over, he picks the apple up from the river and he eats it. Now the moment he finishes eating this apple, a thought comes into his mind. You see, this thought is that this apple that I have just consumed, this apple that I have just eaten, number one, it wasn't my property. Right? Number two, I didn't have permission from the owner of this apple that I could eat it. So number three, I have just eaten haram. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said on numerous occasions, and not just our Prophet, but all the Prophets have said, that when you consume something that is haram, it goes into your bloodstream. When it goes into your bloodstream, when you produce an offspring, when you have a child, the effects of you consuming haram gets passed on to your children. Something we don't really think about. 2022 now, as I'm mentioning this story, you're all probably thinking, so what, man, it was just an apple. Don't worry about it. But just look at the mentality of this individual. He says, hold on, this wasn't my apple. It's not my property. It's haram. I've eaten it. It's gone into my bloodstream. It's going to affect my kids. It's going to affect my religion. It's going to affect my way of thinking. Now I have to find out who this apple belongs to. So the stream is going one way. He follows the stream backwards, right? As he's walking, after a few minutes, he notices that there is a tree that's arched over the river, and it is an apple tree, and it has several of the same apples on that tree. So he's understood now that this apple belongs to this orchard on this tree. Next to this tree was a house. So now he's thinking, okay, so the owner of this apple lives in this house. Let me go and knock on the door. Let me tell him what I've done. Let me ask permission for the food that I've eaten, and let me ask him to forgive me. Just look at the extent that this man is going through just for a small act of eating an apple that wasn't his own, right? So he knocks on the door. A man answers the door. Assalamu alaikum, wa alaikum assalam. Is this your tree? Yes it is. Is this your apple? Yes it is. I ate one of your apples. Because unfortunately it's not my apple, it's not my property. My religion does not allow me to consume haram. The reason why I've walked back all the way to your house and knocked on your door is just to ask your permission. Can you please forgive me for eating your apple? So the guy who owns the orchard, he says to him, look, not to make things complicated or problematic for you, but this tree is co-ownership. So I own half of the tree and my brother owns the other half. I can forgive you for eating half of the apple. And if you want forgiveness for the rest of the apple, then you're going to have to go and ask my brother. Where does your brother live? He lived in a different city, not even in the same city. So normally a person would think, you know what, half of it has been forgiven, let's just go home. But this guy says, no, where does your brother live? So he gave him the address. He's still tired, he's just finished work, it's hot, it's summer. He starts walking towards the brother's house. As he gets to the house of the brother, he knocks on the door, explains the situation. He says that your brother has forgiven me for half the apple, the other half apparently belongs to you. I've come to ask you if you could please forgive me for eating half of your apple. The guy who was there, the brother, he says, look, I can forgive you, no problem, but I have a condition. So this guy's thinking, Ya Allah, okay, what's your condition? He says, I have a daughter. Unfortunately, I have not been able to find a husband for my daughter. There's a few things wrong with her. And because of that, people don't want to marry her. And I need to get her married. Right? He says, what's wrong with your daughter? He says, my daughter is blind. She can't see. My daughter is deaf. She can't hear. My daughter can't talk. And not just that, she can't even walk. So she's blind, she's deaf, she can't talk, she can't walk. Whenever I tell people this, they all refuse to marry her. I'll forgive you for the apple if you marry my daughter. This guy's thinking, wait, look what journey I've started, look where I'm coming from, and look where I'm ending up. Nonetheless, the extent that this man will go to ask for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's forgiveness. So he says, okay, do you know what? Let's get married. I'll marry your daughter. Provided you forgive me, you marry my daughter, I'll forgive you. He says, okay, fine. So arrangements are made. The barat is ready, the families are ready, the nikah ceremony has been recited. When they get married, he enters into the bedroom to see his wife. He sees a woman that's sitting on the bed that's perfectly fine. She's able to see, she's looking at him. She's able to hear, she's responding to him. She's able to talk, she's having a conversation with him. She stands up and walks around the room, she's able to walk. So this guy says, hold on a minute. I just have a question. Your father told me that you had a few disabilities, that you couldn't walk, talk, hear, nothing. So the woman says, the reason that my father says this is because my father wants a man so pious, so religious, so God-fearing, someone that is so good in the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that whenever my father tells somebody that my daughter is blind, my daughter is deaf, my daughter can't walk, my daughter can't talk, all of the rishteh are rejected. Straight away they're like, I'm not spending my life with her. So therefore, my father's condition is that if anybody accepts me with these 4 disabilities, then that man is truly getting married for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And for that reason, that man will be my husband and I will spend the rest of my life with him. But just to clarify your point, when my father said that I was blind, what he meant by that was I have never looked at anything that this religion does not allow me to look at. When my father said that I was deaf, he said that I have never heard anything Islam does not allow me to hear. When my father said that I couldn't talk, I have never said anything this religion does not allow me to say. And when my father said that I couldn't walk, I have never walked on a path that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not allow us to walk on. Therefore, my father wanted to find a pious husband for me. The purpose of mentioning this whole story is that when these 2 individuals, a man who was seeking forgiveness for an apple and a woman that has never committed a sin, or a woman who is living purely for the sake of the Ardabelli, when these 2 individuals got married, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed them with a son. The name of this boy was Muqadas Ardabelli. Right, Muqadas Ardabelli. For those who don't know, Muqadas Ardabelli was one of the greatest maraja and one of the greatest scholars that we have in the religion of Islam, and especially within the religion of the Shias.